I'm really pleased to be joined from Berlin by Iris Hefets of the Jewish Voice for Peace. How are you doing, Iris?
Well, it's very worrying what's happening now in Germany. So I cannot say that I'm feeling well.
If we could just talk about the event that's gone worldwide as a story. Last week, I mean, you're in the Jewish Voice for Peace in Germany. So can you tell us what happened last week? You're going to have a conference for Palestine.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how long did it take you to plan the conference?
Yeah. Well, it's a group that was working on it, and Jewish Voice for Just Peace in the Middle East was one group of the organizers, and it was planned through months because month. And of course, we had everything was voluntarily, and we had also to collect money for that in order to find a venue, in order to invite people. So Jewish Voice also gave the bank account in order to collect the donations. And 2 weeks before it started, something like that, we heard suddenly that our bank account was closed because they say they need some actualization of forms, but they said that we have to give it within 2 weeks. And in addition, they wanted a list. The bank, which belongs to the state of Berlin, said that they demand us to give them a list of all our members, including the addresses of all the members. And they are now closing that preventively. So we had no access to the money that was there, which is not our money. It's all, donations from people all over Germany and maybe also from other places that donated so that this conference can take place. Until now, we don't have any access to this money. So we had to find another bank account to collect the donation. In this time, of course, there were many people that wanted to donate more, but we cannot give any, bank account for donation. And that was, the shooting. I mean, before already they started, of course, to mail us, the police, and to ask whether they can talk with us, and they want to look as for the security. And according to the law in Germany, they are obliged actually to protect us and to enable such a conference, but they did everything in order to prevent it. So we had to find another bank account, and we made also campaigns to collect donations very fast, in order to compensate for the money to which we don't have any access. So the police started like, a mafia organization to call, cafes where we were trying to gather in order to make these campaigns to collect donations and to intimidate. And we are going through these intimidations now for months or years, I would say, in Germany. So they try to prevent it on this level. When it wasn't possible, because most of people in Germany are not agreeing with German policy as for Israel, Palestine, yeah? So we could gather the money in order to have it. So then they also, and the venue was kept secret because we knew that the police is putting pressure on the people that are renting us. And
how long did you keep it secret, the venue? Because we have the same thing here, you see, where we don't tell people where we meet. But how long was it before you told people where it was?
I mean, we wanted to tell people at 12 o'clock, and it started or in the morning, and it started at 12 o'clock, or the registration started at 12 o'clock.
So in the same morning, the morning of the event?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly, but the police found out before, because probably they're either listening to our phones, I don't know what. I myself didn't even know where it was. I didn't also wanted to know, but the organizers, they are either have, people who are infiltrating into these organizations, or they are, it's not clear, or they can, I don't know, persecute us through entering into bank accounts, whatever. So they found out, and they went the day before to the man that owns this venue and tried to intimidate him. But then there was also a talk of the organizers with the police. And the police was, in a very good mood. They say, yeah, it's going to be okay. We just wanted to tell you what you need for your security and whatever. There was an agreement between the organizers. Everything is accompanied also by lawyer and the police. Then in the morning of the event, they came and they said that not all people that bought cards for tickets for this event are allowed to get in. Only 250 people because of firefighting regulation.
So how many had got tickets? How big? How many were you hoping to have?
Something like 700.
So they cut it by two-thirds.
Yeah, and then they let also people from the press enter through a back door, and that was a hostile press for us. And they count these people from the press as belonging to these 250 people, and they didn't let other people from the press to get in.
930 police officers. That's what it said on Al Jazeera?
I mean, as far as we know, it was 2,500.
2,500?
Yeah, and they brought also policemen from North Rhine-Westphalen. It's in the west of Germany, because they need more policemen for that.
How did you adapt to having to cut from 700 to 250? Because then you'd have to tell people, you can't go, you can come. How on earth could you arrange that without people being arguing and causing trouble? How did you manage to get to 250?
Yeah. Well, I guess people in Germany are having a lot of patience. I mean, they were demonstrating outside. It was clear that the police is trying to prevent that. There was a kind of spontaneous demonstration outside because the police, were just blocking people. They were hitting one of our members, a Jew, who just went, with a placard, rolled, because he just wanted to give it to one of our members, and the police stopped him and asked him, what is it? Maybe it's illegal. So we opened it in order to show what this placard say, and it was said Jews against genocide, and they were hitting him, which is also something one can see now.
Physically hitting him with, right.
Yeah, and he was wearing a kippah. You could see that he is a Jew. That was not, something they couldn't even see. So, at some point, people, I mean, it was already, because the demand was so big for this conference, it was organized to be streamed. So people saw that they will not be allowed. It was quite clear. So they went to places where they can see it online.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So therefore, there was not such a pressure on the place. And then it started, and after it was streamed for one session, the policemen, something like 20, 30 policemen, all armed, and covered like we are a terror organization. This is how they also grade us. And that's the only demonstrations or conferences or gatherings in German where you see the police in such an armor, kind of. And people, they are peaceful, like what you're asking. I mean, people who were sitting in there, the police was coming all the time, trying to disturb, to count, and then they say they cannot come, people cannot get in. I was able to get in only because someone was getting out. Yeah. So then I was in the room and I saw how they just, stand before, in the front of the screening place, and they said that Salman Abu Sita is not able to speak now through video. And when the lawyers ask what is the problem, they say that there is a hate speech here. No, in the beginning they say he's not allowed to speak in Germany. So they told them, the lawyer told the German police that if someone is not allowed to speak in Germany, there was already a precedent for that in court. You cannot prohibit someone to talk through video. You can prohibit someone to talk physically.
Yeah,
So
this is the thing that I found most shocking was this idea that he couldn't even do a video. I mean, but tell us more about that.
that he will talk on video. Then when the lawyer said that, well, we don't know, we never heard about it. And then they said, well, that's the case. But he said, okay, maybe the policeman said, yeah, but it's a hate speech. So they say, it was already now running for 1.5 minutes. Do you have anything to say about what was running until now? Was there anything that was a hate speech? And they say, no, we cannot. But it might come. So they were trying, to negotiate, the lawyers with the police, and say, you know what, you can have this video now, and you can look at it. We will go on with the program. So you can just, decide whether it's kosher or not. And they were refusing that also. And they said, no, I mean, now the conference is closed. You're not allowed to do that for the next 3 days. So, they just closed everything. We knew already before that the dean of the Glasgow University, Dr. Abu Sita, was not allowed to enter Germany, that he was interrogated and was sent back to London. Yeah. So there were many signs to that, although they were playing, a double game, because they asked the day before, was there any change in the program of the conference? And the organizer says, no, the program is standing there. You could see whatever it is, there are no changes. So if they really, had some suspicion as for someone that was talking, they had, months to go.
So you'd already told that they already knew who was on the list of speakers?
Of course, it was public, it was online. They knew it all the time. They were just looking for excuses because it was clear the press was from the beginning starting, to distribute hate speech about the Congress of Israel haters, the Congress of anti-Semites, the gathering of whatever. So
can you tell us a bit about the press then? I mean, how are the press covering this? I mean, you say most of the population are in support of Palestine or against what Germany is doing.
Yeah.
But what is the press doing? Is there any liberal press that are supporting what you're doing?
Yeah, very small newspaper which is supporting us, but the big press, the Axel Springer Verlag, which is the Bild newspaper, Die Welt, Fat, I mean, all the right wing, but also the left liberal press, like Zeit. I mean, first of all, we are boycotted for years. They are not talking with us. They also know there was a process in German press of, we call it in German Gleichschaltung. This is something that the Nazis did, that, you just straight the line and everyone who will say something critical about Israel is going to be dismissed. So they were really cleaning press, also, of course, state-financed press bureaus through implementing guidelines for anti-Semitism, and they have commissioners against it, and they were spying on journalists in their private Facebook accounts and whatever. And if someone was posting something which was critical about the Israeli policy, he was or she was fired. So the press that we see now, these are the people who are afraid to say something else, or they agree with the right-wing policy of Israel, and they belong to the right wing in Germany. So this is the press, and they were attacking us heavily, not mentioning, for example, the Jewish Voice was an organizer. Then, they also released a report about us, Jewish Voice for Just Peace, as being a very, anti-Semitic organization, problematic, everything only, guilt by association, nothing substantial, but, they are losing power because if, for example, you look in our Instagram account, we have double as much more followers as the Central Committee of the Jews in Germany. And also the members of the Central Jews in Germany, which is heavily financed by the German government. They are all old people, older than 60 years. They don't have any future in Germany, but these are the right Jews that the German elite, or let's say, I mean, political power wants. So we are the bad Jews that they try, you know, to silence, to claim that we are not really Jews, for example, or that we pretend to be Jews. They have many, you know, they try every time to find something else to disqualify us. And now the last development is that the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Germany claimed that they closed this conference because the organizers are anti-Semites and Islamists. So now we, Jewish Voice for Just Peace in the Middle East, and other leftist organizations who are mainly communist and not religious at all, we are described now in Germany as Islamist organization.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And is there a political party that is sticking up for you? What are the political parties saying?
No, all political parties in Germany are in line with this Staatsräson, the reason of state of Germany, that Angela Merkel declared before the Israeli parliament without discussing that in any democratic way in the German parliament. Yeah, that was something declarative, and it became a kind of soft law, which means that Israel is part of the security of Germany, and whatever Israel is doing, the politics of Israel, yeah, doesn't matter which government, the German government is supporting. So it really comes to absurd situations in which, for example, in the Berlinale, when a Jewish Israeli and a Palestinian filmmakers are winning the prize, and they are talking about the slaughter in Gaza, apartheid in Israel, and they get standing ovations for that, because suddenly, I mean, at last, someone from outside is saying what every German is afraid to say, yeah, almost every German. And then, you know, the Minister of Culture said, I mean, she was heavily attacked afterwards because she was clapping too. And she said that she was clapping only for the Jewish Israeli filmmaker, not for the Palestinian, although, you know, it's a co-production. Because he was, you know, suggesting future solutions or whatever she found. So you just see, and this is a minister who was against the anti-BDS resolution. One of the, she's from the Green. She's one of the little, I mean, the small group that was not for the anti-BDS resolution 2019. And now you see how she, like many others in Germany, become more and more right-wing and against free speech and against, you know, basic rights, which are anchored in the German constitution. Everything he's here, what I'm telling you, is against the German constitution.
Now, look, I need to ask you something, because in a way, it's been a bit simplified. What the behavior of Germany has been simplified in some way here, that it's all about the ICJ case, Nicaragua case against Germany for complicity in genocide. Do you think that Germany's response, the political class, the media, the police, all these powers, do you think that they are all responding to this fear of being found complicit, or do you think it's a bigger issue than that?
I think it's much bigger than that, because this behavior, first of all, didn't start now. We see it, I mean, Germany was taken to court by Nicaragua because of this policy of supporting Israel without any limitations, supplying weapon for this genocide. So they are sticking to American foreign policy. In Ukraine, for example, one can see that. At the end, Germany and Europe will now provide weapons for Ukraine. But Germany is not, I mean, unlike France, for example, or Italy, they will say something maybe, but they will have another policy and they will take care of the interest of their country. Germany is acting according to the USA. Wow. And USA is also the one who supports Israel. So it's, in this case, you know, it was quite expected. And Germany was also saying clearly that they are going to support Israel, whatever Israel is doing. And they are also, you know,
So they've been saying this for it was coming for a long time that they would be clamping down on free speech, but the clamping down on free speech is excessive. In even America's in the US wouldn't be that bad. I mean, they're trying to clamp down. They're clamping down on free speech in the UK, but nothing like in the way that Germany is doing. What I can't help thinking about, we're talking about you spoke on an earlier interview about history started in 1945, and that's the interpretation of Germany. But shouldn't history in some way in Germany have started in 1933, where people were being silenced and free speech was being eroded all the time, and people were intimidated? I mean, all the stuff you're describing sounds like a totalitarian regime rather than a democracy.
Yeah, we are talking about totalitarian tendencies in Germany that now they can do also, Germany has, the German society has the tendency also to put a moral note on everything. So if other societies, you recycle the garbage, it's because it's something practical. You don't want to have too much garbage in the world. Germans do that because they are much better people if they do that. So now they also have this excuse of doing, they wouldn't say that they are acting against free speech. They say we are acting against anti-Semitism, and we have to protect Jews. So we are not considered to be Jews in Germany. Jews are only the Jews that they are talking with, and they are saying that they are afraid. And with this fear policy, they can try to do, they manage, not only try, they manage to silence many other people. Now we have also to remember that East Germany, had a dictatorship until 1989. And that the right wing in Germany is on the rise, and there are many Nazi organizations in Germany that are very active. The bank account, Berliner Sparkasse, who closed our bank account, has an account of the AfD, that's Alternative for Germany, which is a right-wing party, and the bank account of the Heimat, which is a party, which is a Nazi party, clearly, yeah? And these are parties who are being watched by the Constitution Guard in Germany, yeah?
So but they've still got a bank account.
They have bank accounts, and the Berliner Sparkasse, this bank told us that they are closing our bank because of ethical issues, but they are letting the other right-wing parties to have bank accounts in there. So we are talking clearly about supporting right-wing policy, because Germany would like to reverse 2015, when more than 1 million people from Syria, from Afghanistan, from Pakistan came into Germany. And these are the migrants that they don't want to have. They are legalizing now an easier way that migrants will come from countries that they would like to have, like UK or Spain or Italy or the USA, and push back the migrants which they don't want. And this is a right-wing policy, of course.
So, I mean, I know Germany has a lot of people from, as you say, refugees who've come in who would be Muslims, many of them. Yeah. But you're talking about this kind of fear-mongering about Islam and stuff that's coming from Germany. I mean, that sounds very uncomfortable. How are the Muslims in Germany feeling when they seem to be being targeted in a way here?
Yeah. Well, what happens now is actually that most of these people that came 2015 can now be naturalized in Germany and get German passports. So this is the last moment when you can control these people. And the government is telling them, you can have these passports if you will be white Germans. And what Germans mean, and they already did it in some countries, you have to sign when you get this passport that you will not act against the German state, and that you recognize the right of existence of Israel. And if you will be, this is now German policy,
Sorry,
Formal,
can you say that again? Just because I can't really believe what you've just said. You have to sign, in order to get a passport, you have to sign
get
something.
a German passport, in
Yeah.
order to get a German passport, you have to sign that you acknowledge the right of existence of Israel. So it means that if you came from Syria, maybe you're also a Palestinian from Syria, a Palestinian refugee that lived there, or someone else from Syria or Iran or Pakistan or whatever, or from Greece, I don't know, you have to sign that you acknowledge the right of existence of Israel. Now, and they also said that if you are doing something illegal, then you will not be allowed to be naturalized. And something illegal, it's also anti-Semitic, and anti-Semitism, the definition is so wide, everything can be anti-Semitism. It's so crazy that if, for example, you will write an article in Germany about capitalism, and you will say, it's like a monster with many hands, capitalism, you will be accused being anti-Semitic because it's a critic against capitalism and a monster, and it's whatever. They will find something. You're wearing a green suit, you're Islamist, you're Hamas best, I don't know, it's really crazy. So this is the way they intimidate people and the newcomers are mainly Muslims, and so that they do not go to demonstrations because they know that the police, is just picking up people, accusing them for nothing, but it can, they are afraid. This is the fear that they are distributing. So people, some of them also know what a dictatorship is, like Syrians, Some of them, are, they came because they were rebelling against the Assad regime. So you have some people who rebel, but you have many people, who have children that are already, they lost everything in life. They wouldn't like to risk it now. So it's not about Israel. It's about suppressing the Muslim society, preventing people to be naturalized here and to change, of course, the demographic landscape of Germany. And this is a policy which is done by kind of left-wing center political parties in Germany. We're talking about social democrats, we're talking about the Greens, and we're talking about the liberals who are doing that.
Have you been intimidated by what happened last week? Do you feel traumatized? Is there trauma and anxiety about people on the left or people who are against genocide in Gaza? I mean, how do you feel now?
Yeah. Well, I was intimidated as for holding a sign as a Jew and Israeli stop the genocide in Gaza. I was arrested detained by the police for hate speech, but now they canceled it, so I'm free. I'm not guilty. They declare me not guilty, and I'm also allowed to pick up my sign, my placard, which they took. So it is clearly an intimidation because there is no way that what I wrote can be considered as hate speech. I cannot say that I'm traumatized, I'm not in Gaza. I can say, of course, that as a Jew, when I see German policemen hitting Jews with kippas, then I'm afraid because it means it was a taboo in Germany until now. And it means that there is such a disinhibition of German society that all these taboos, and German society needs these taboos because we know what happens when Germans become aggressive. We already, experienced it. But now we see that one taboo after the other is being broken. And it's a process taking place in the last 20 years. Because 20 years ago, if you were a Holocaust survivor, you could say anything, also about Israel. They wouldn't touch you. And then they started to cancel Holocaust survivors and their children. And then they say that Jews are anti-Semites and Jews were not allowed to speak. And now we are in such a peak in Germany that mostly Jewish women, progressive Jewish women, are being canceled. and not able to talk in Germany, not able to come to German academy, and without any shame. So this is something very worrying as for the development in Germany, I think for everyone. But of course, if you belong to the BPOC community, you will be the first one to be targeted. So it is frightening. It is, you know, we know, yeah, what Germans are able to do. And we see also that although most of people do not agree with the policy of the government, they are not going on the streets. They are hardly talking. If they write something, they write something about, 5 months of genocide in Gaza, and then civil servants are publishing a very good letter, but all the names are anonymous because they're afraid of their career. So you see, young students in the USA who have much more guts than established people who have everything, and we hear it also from journalists, from people, who are running the Goethe Institutes in many countries. They say, what happens now with German culture, German reputation, I mean, people are boycotting Germany now. It's a catastrophe for Germany, what's going on here. Because,
So, is there, I mean, it sounds like you have anger as well, but that people are not speaking out, who should be speaking out. I mean, that's something that I feel too, about people not speaking out. Are the main celebrities, is there any celebrities in Germany who will speak out? Have they all ducked their responsibilities here?
No one beside last week, an old comedian who is 88 years old or 86. That was the first prominent who talked and said it's a genocide. He was also attacked, but he can afford it to himself because he's already 86 or something like that. He was also attacked of being, too old, and he doesn't really know what's going on. He knows exactly what's going on. Yeah. There are influencers in the social media, and you see also that young people in Germany, much more of them says, yeah, it's a genocide, Israel is apartheid, because they get their news from the social media. But if an influencer is recruited by a German broadcaster to be a moderator, she was now doing on her social media account, a small podcast about boycotting Israeli products. She was fired. So you could see all that in social media, and young people see that, but the establishment is not really aware of that. They live really in their bubble, and this is the way they live, and they try not to get too much information from outside or to push it back. And it's very different. I mean, I see the demonstrations in London. There is no comparison. I mean, in London, you have really big demonstrations. People are going to the streets, maybe not prominence or whatever, but also in Germany, we are going every week to the demonstrations. We have some thousands, but it's still, it's much smaller than it could be if all, POCs wouldn't be intimidated, and if white Germans will come out and come with us. But they really believe that, everything on the streets there is, everyone is terrorist and Islamist, and they are afraid of that and whatever.
I mean, the coverage we've had of what happened at your conference last week has been quite big in this country. I mean, I know I'm in a bit of a bubble, and I'm interested in that. But Yanis Varoufakis has had a big coverage from his speech being suppressed. How has German media been able to cover it without making it look like censorship? What have they been saying?
Well, we saw a bit of a shift in that newspapers that were attacking us before the conference started to talk, that it is authoritarian, what's going on. That's new. We are talking especially, I mean, we were not interviewed only by any, German media. Only two leftist newspapers were talking with us. But otherwise, in all the press conference, whatever we do also in English, because we know that we are talking to the international community. And in that sense, it's very helpful that I can talk with you. And I really ask people that see that now to spread the word, because there is a movement of Strike Germany that is calling people to boycott Germany for this genocide supportive policy that they are doing and suppressing us. You know, Berlin used to be, and I really enjoyed the golden age of Berlin, a place which is very open-minded, funded by the state as for, you know, a lot of arts and whatever. Now there is a big coalition of, you know, social democrats and Christian democrats, and they are anyhow trying to cut budgets. So they have also the excuse of anti-Semitism, and they want artists to sign the IRA definition, to commit themselves, not to do anything, you know, critical of Israel, but and anti-Semitic, in order to be funded by the state, which is also an authoritarian step. And under that, you can put everything which is progressive, because post-colonialism now considered in Germany to be anti-Semitic, because they are talking about settler colonialism in Israel, for example, or they are construing continuity between German colonialism and the German genocide of Herero and Nama in Namibia, and the German genocide of the Jews, which is against the idea of Germans that the Holocaust was unique. It happened one time. It's the only genocide that happened in the world, and the best. And they are the best perpetrators, and you cannot touch that. And they are also, you know, the best memory culture, the winner in the memory culture competition that they also, you know, invent in their, imagine in their mind to take place. So under this fighting against anti-Semitism, they are doing a policy of you know, right-wing censorship. So it's important for us to speak internationally. It's important that people will see what's going on in Germany, and that the pressure will come from the outside that will put some border, because, you know, they lost any border. They are persecuting people who are against genocide, for ceasefire, and people who wants, you know, to live freely and to have the right, you know, the same rights as everyone. What do we demand? How can we be terrorists and extremists? So everything is so psychotic here that I can understand also your reaction to say, oh, whoa, what's going on here? It's really, one has the feeling that one is living in a, you know, in a psychiatric closed department. But this is reality.